From Las Vegas, Nevada, it's Berkshire Hathaway Facebook Live!
Yeah, baby! Woo! With Alberto Saab, of course. Okay, or as you say, Alberto. I like the way he says his name. I can't say it like that, but I tried. All right, so today we're going to be talking to Alberto about, like, for instance, my first question is, even before, let's start before this. You were having an incredible first quarter. I mean, you're always in the top echelon of, finishing as far as production every year with our company with 1,100 agents. So how do you do that year after year, finish up there as far as, in transactions and money earned?
Well, I appreciate the question. So I listen to guys like you, actually.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Wait, that's my favorite answer. Let that start.
Is consistency, it's having a schedule, it's not being afraid to do the things that we know work, right? So obviously staying in touch with my sphere. Listen, you have to do a good job at what you do, but you also have to be very consistent. I think if I were to put a percentage on everything, it'd be consistency would be the number one thing I have to do.
Consistency and discipline.
In discipline, yeah. With a schedule to be able to do great production, right? And a focus as well.
And you gotta have fun, which you obviously do.
I try.
By your intro. And I've been watching your social media stuff. It's great, your interviews. And so give us a little breakdown, okay? What percent of your business comes from repeat and referral? I know you do expires. I know you do little FSBOs, little farming. Do you have an idea of what the breakdown is, basically?
Oh yeah,
because I know you're a numbers guy.
Well, you have to be. You should know where your stuff's coming from, right?
Yeah.
So 40% of my business comes from referrals.
Yep.
Right, and then another 35% comes from expireds.
Nice. Withdrawals too?
Yeah. I don't really call them withdrawals, to be honest with you, but I'm doing that now. I started calling them withdrawals now. And then the rest of it comes really from like internet, just listed, just sold, FSBO, stuff like that. So, but the two major ones are definitely my sphere and expireds.
And awesome, thank you. It's just I wanted everybody to hear that because when you know your numbers and you're well-rounded, and that's what Alberto just displayed, is he gets business from all the lead sources that we talk about in Success Series too. And I know you've picked it up on your social media in the last year and a half too.
Yeah, and it's something that I've always wanted to do, and this is kind of forcing me now that we're in this situation, it's forcing me to be more dedicated to the social media side of things, which I really enjoy.
Yeah,
really
it's obvious. It's obvious you enjoy it. I love it too. It's fun. At first, it's a little intimidating. Because, by the way, nobody likes the way they look on video at first, or the way you sound, but then you just get used to it. And you actually make changes too, don't you?
What do you mean?
As far as like your presentation and the way you're talking. Like I would be saying things, and I had no idea I was saying that. Eliminate that from, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, absolutely, yeah. The only thing I'm noticing as we get further into this is that my hair is getting grayer. My hair is getting grayer and it's getting longer.
But you have hair.
But I have hair, yes.
That wasn't it. No, never mind. All right, so now we've got this pandemic going on, and so before I do that, hold on, one more question before. Your goal for 2020 in transaction numbers is?
100.
100 transactions. I want you guys to hear that. Are you changing it because of this?
No.
Good. I love that answer. Dan had the same answer, and a lot of the top producers have. Some trainers are actually saying, throw your business plan away. I'm like, why would you ever do that? Especially being from New England, where I closed 80% of my business in 7 months and 20% in 5 months for a whole different reason, the weather. Here it's this pandemic.
That makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. So, 100 transactions. Okay, so how are you doing so far?
We're doing great so far.
You're on track.
Yeah, we're on track. Yeah, we've been putting properties under contract, which is, quite frankly, I was amazed how many properties we've been putting under contract. A lot of people don't know that we're actually selling properties right now, so it's hard for some people to fathom, but it's happening.
Right.
Yeah. And
since this has started, you said you only have a couple listings left, right?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So obviously, I need to work on getting more listings, which I am working on that, and I've got stuff in the pipeline.
All right, cool. All right, so now this pandemic happened and so forth. What changes have you made? I know you have your prop here you want to talk about. So what changes have you made to do business in this environment?
So I'd like to just mention something though real quick. So last week my coach said, he goes, did you hear the pandemic is over? And I know where he was going with this. He was trying to get me to get in the mindset of not thinking about the pandemic. But I went the opposite direction. I was like, wait a minute. Let's just pretend like it's always going to be here. So let's operate as if it was always here.
Right.
That way we can get in that mindset and we can work forward with how do you build a business plan, how do you work forward with that. So so that's one of the things that I've sort of changed my mindset on to try to be better about working forward. Because we have a responsibility, and that is to keep the economy moving forward. We're a big part of that, obviously.
We really are. Home sales are huge.
Yeah.
It's really the thermometer.
Yeah. So I wanted to so something I've always actually used this, but this is way more important now than it was, say 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot more of this. So you can use Matterport as your platform, and you can get the big bulky Matterport camera that turns. This is a 360 camera. It's a 3D camera. So literally, I can, and I'll just set this like right there. I can take my phone and I can take a new video. It'll tell me it'll ask me what address I'm at. I'm at the address, blah blah blah, and I'll take a scan. And I'll scan, and literally in 5 seconds it'll scan. I'm not connected to it right now because it disconnected us while we were talking.
Right.
It only has a time set. But anyways, it'll scan the room, and then we'll have a 3D of the room. Then I just move it over to here, this doorway. I have the door open, right? I'll scan there, I'll scan in there, and it'll make an entire 3D of the entire.
It'll put it all together for you.
It'll put it all together. Yeah. So you have a floor plan, you'll have a 3D, and I just told you earlier that I sold a couple of properties where the buyers were from California, never came into town, were online and looked at the 3D, and they walked through the entire house with the 3D, and then decided to go ahead and make an offer. I don't want to call it sight unseen because it really isn't, but
No.
they never
like being
physically,
there.
yeah, they never physically walked in.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I think has been very helpful in our
Shy of
current-
beaming into the house, it's a close second.
Right.
That's next.
yeah.
So any other changes that you'd like to talk about, how you're doing business to keep it rolling while this is going on? Maybe something that they could use, because some people, let's face it, some people are paralyzed by this. Some people like you are almost business as usual with changes, because you have that growth mindset, and some people are kind of in the middle.
Well, some of the small tweaks that I've been making is that when I'm talking to people, I'm just making sure that they know that we are selling properties.
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest perception is people are going, oh my gosh, everything's stopped. I'll talk to somebody, like if I'm talking to somebody in California, they're like, well, it's, nobody's selling anything because California has obviously got much more stringent rules than we do.
Right.
People don't know that. People don't know that we can go show properties. People
Right.
don't know certain stuff. So so in my script, I might say, I know a lot of people don't think that we're selling houses, but we are.
You do a slightly different intro.
I'll just throw a little bit more information in there so that people don't. And you know what? I respect everybody's opinion on this situation because that's the other thing that'll come up. Well, how do you guys show properties? And then I'll go into that, that sort of thing. So we're just tweaking a little bit so people understand that we are still selling properties.
Absolutely, yeah. And and like we were in 3 markets, and I know exactly what you're talking about. California's a little bit more buttoned up, but they have loosened up a little bit. Arizona is probably the least effective of and this market's probably somewhere in the middle. And it's really because you can still operate right now. That's the key.
Yes.
And for you, the top producer, this might even be a little advantageous time for you.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I mean it's time to to rethink certain things that maybe you didn't have time to rethink before or didn't make time to rethink before. So it's actually kind of exciting, to be honest with you. I mean, don't take that the wrong way. It's just whenever you're in adversity, I always think something is going to happen,
Right.
and as long as you're focused on it, you're going to take yourself into the stratosphere.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be left behind.
Yeah, because it doesn't.
Which one do you want to be?
Yeah, adversity doesn't define you; it really reveals you, right? Who
There you
you
go.
are as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
agree with
important
that.
for me to come into the office every day. Obviously I'm social distancing myself from people, but at the same time, I have my own office, so I don't have to worry about
Right.
being next to people. But just even if I didn't have an office, I would just get dressed and
Yeah.
sit at my office in my house. Whatever I have to do to be on that constant schedule, because you get out of that,
Yeah.
it's going to be
You
hard
have
to
a
get back
routine,
into
yeah.
it.
It's just like working out, right? Your gym's closed, or you must have an abbreviated workout right now.
Oh yeah. All my neighbors know what I do because I do it out in the front yard.
What was the football player from Philadelphia? I saw him here one day too. That used to remember when the press was all over him. He would work out in the driveway and just ignore them.
Oh,
Is that
I
what you
didn't
do?
know that.
What's his name? Oh, he just got inducted to the Hall of Fame too. I can't think of his name. He's a wide receiver. Anyway, okay, so, one thing I am not gonna miss in these interviews is when social distancing goes away, is doing it like this. Where we can just both stand next to each other and, all right, so any final thoughts you wanna give them about anything going on?
Well, okay, yeah. So I've been very good about following the numbers. I think it's important to follow the numbers because if you don't, then you don't really know what's happening in real estate. So yes, the numbers are changing. You know, I just did a video yesterday telling people listings are still coming on the market, properties are still selling. Yes, those numbers have changed. Price reductions have gone up dramatically, right? And I'm getting a lot of people asking me what's happening to values, right? And it's a little early to figure that out. However, from what I've seen, I'm just telling you what I've seen, it looks like we've had about a 2 to 3% change in values, right?
Yeah.
Now, so when I'm talking to somebody and they say I have a second home or a vacant home and they've been thinking about selling it, I'm like, well, why would you wait? You know, we already know values have changed slightly in the last month, so why would you wait any longer just in case that changes, you know, further? The other thing I've noticed so far too is that with all the numbers changing, nothing looks like it's going to be dramatic yet. So I'm hoping that stays that way.
Yeah,
you know,
I've noticed it too. I have a number in my mind, but I want to see what yours is. March 1st, let's call that 100% activity. Mm-hmm. What would you say we're at now, percentage-wise, compared to March 1st?
About 65%. So 65, there's 65% buyers.
That's
still,
amazing.
Still back out there.
I've been using 65 to 70.
Yeah. The inventory, the amount of listings that are going on, you know, were around 1,000, and then they kind of started, every week, excuse me, and then they went down, and now they're about 750 a week are going on, right? And before it was like 1,000 would go under contract every week, and now it's about 600, 550. So, but both of those numbers are going down, obviously, as less people put their properties on the market and so on and so forth. However, it's still a percentage.
Yeah.
So it's supply and demand. That's all real estate really is supply and demand. You know, so as long as the supply doesn't go too high, then and the demand stays there, then we should be fine. Hopefully.
Yeah.
That's my hope.
Well, and then I also hope with the president coming out with his open up guidelines, you know, I hope that we're still on for May 1st. That'd be nice in Vegas or whatever day it ends up being. But it'd be nice to get back, like, you know, the mayor tweeted yesterday, I want to get back, get the city back to work, which I love. I love that attitude, under certain guidelines, of course. Okay, so last question. Let's say it's 2 months from now and everything's almost back to normal, or 3 months from now, whatever time frame it takes. Do you think some of these changes and things that we're doing now will hold true when we go back to almost normal?
Oh, absolutely.
Like give us a couple. What do you think is, like, I know this is a good one.
Yeah, this is definitely something that you're going to see more of. You're already seeing more of this already.
Yeah.
I've been preaching this for 6 years. I'm the one that brought this to the market 6 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so I'm really happy that more people are using it. I also think that a lot more people, instead of doing phone interviews, will probably do like Zoom or Google Hangouts for their interviews with their clients. Things like that.
I like that one too.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, just really interesting factoid that I learned is that brass is self-disinfecting.
Yes, I heard that.
Right?
Forrest told me.
Forrest told me that too, right? So this is why you have a good broker, right? So Forrest tells you, some interesting things sometimes. So brass is self-disinfecting. I'm like, is that why back in the 70s and 80s there was so much brass in all the homes, and then we took it all out, right?
Because it's expensive.
Because it's expensive, and because it just wasn't appealing at the time, or, now we use silver and stuff like that. You think they're going to start doing remodels with brass in them now?
Probably, right?
Self-disinfecting house. Don't have to worry about touching the knobs and stuff.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Little factoid I wanted to throw out.
That was good. So so 3D, probably more Zoom and more FaceTime. Anything else you can think of as far as changes that may stick through all of this?
Well, for me, I think it's going to be. That's a good question, actually. For me, I think it's going to be more of doing things that I wanted to always do that I didn't make time to do.
Right. Yeah, it's a good reflective time, isn't it?
It is very good reflective time. Yeah, I've had some really good, deep conversations with my sphere. And you know what? If you're not calling your sphere, you should. And I'll tell you why. I've called so many people that are like, they're just like in shambles, right? Maybe they live by themselves. Maybe they live in an epidemic area, an area like San Francisco that they're just in shambles. You call them and you're happy that they're healthy and you're just talking to them about their life and you're letting them vent or whatever the case may be. and you'll change their day.
Yeah.
I had one lady, she was crying, and by the time she was done with the phone conversation with me, she kept thanking me for calling her.
Yeah.
You know, that's a value. It doesn't matter if she ever uses me for real estate. It's just the fact that I feel good that I got to make her day better.
Yeah, and don't try to cut your conversation short too. That's very good. I've learned now since I've been coaching now. I usually have 130 people in coaching between all three markets, and I've learned today. I learned the second agent I know of with our company that had COVID-19 who's recovered, and her husband. Both have recovered fine. Yeah, she missed the call 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, that's interesting. She never misses. And I tried her, she didn't answer, and then she showed up to the call today, and sure enough, she hadn't recovered. So, yeah, people you know, that's my second one. It's only my second one now that I know that has had it, and both of them have recovered. So, any final thoughts before we end it here?
Oh man, you put me on the spot there. I guess the only thought that comes to mind for some reason is that I've been doing postcards. I've been writing, little notes to people that after I talk to them. Like if I have a really good conversation with somebody, I'll write them a card.
Those.
Huh?
When you handwrite them, they keep them.
So here's what I did. I have these cards that have animals on them, and the animals have sunglasses, right? So I had one that had a bear, and he's got a backpack, he's in the woods, and he's got sunglasses on, right? And on the inside, it has the same little picture of the bear. So what I did is I put a little caption, and it says, I wrote, how do bears say goodbye? And it's one of those captions like it looks like the bear's talking.
Yeah,
right. And then it says, and then the next caption coming down from his mouth says, bear hugs, right? I guarantee you they're never going to throw that card away.
No.
And it just hey, I really enjoyed talking to you, blah, 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 and it was...
And it reminds them you have personality and you're fun to talk to, so awesome.
All
right, man. Well, thanks for your time, Alberto. This has been awesome, you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Appreciate it.